This is TWiT.
All right. Well, it has been a while since we've heard from the Fairphone folks and their fair business practices, but they have announced a brand new flagship, the Fairphone 4. And I'm very excited about this because, as everyone knows, I love a good modular phone, and the Fairphone is keeping the modular dream alive. So their base model is 579 euros. Priced at 579 euros in Europe, with 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. Or you can pay 649 euros for 8 gig of RAM and 256 gig of storage. The phone actually ships with a screwdriver, since this device is built all around repairability. It's got replaceable parts that range from the display, the USB-C port, the selfie camera, the ear speaker, the main camera array, the loudspeaker, the battery, and the rubberized back. And get this, it includes a 5-year warranty at no extra cost. And there's a promise of a long-term availability for spare parts. So if you're worried about like investing in this, how long is this phone going to last? They are promising availability of spare parts for a long term. We don't know what long-term means, but seriously, they're committed to it. A good example of this is that the Fairphone 2, which launched in 2015, is still on sale on their site. So a 6-year-old phone they're still selling, which is fascinating. They might just have a ton of inventory, who knows? But Fairphone also has a strong commitment to software updates. They're guaranteeing updates to the end of 2025 and at least Android 12 to 13, and they aim to extend the support beyond that to 2027, which is crazy. The Fairphone 2, which we mentioned launched in 2015, was updated to Android 9 this past March, and they even did this without any help from Qualcomm, who abandoned the chip on the device 5 years ago. So you can pre-order this on October 25th. It's going to be released in Europe and the UK. No US release, but you can get it if you want it. We talked to Matteo; he'll hook you up. But Fairphone is fascinating, and the idea of coming with a screwdriver, encouraging you to take it apart and repair individual components is bananas. But I love it.
Love it.
I love this stuff. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Stacy, how do you feel about Well, I feel like the Fairphone is an example of two different phones. It's an example of like modern modular design. Someone in the chat actually just mentioned, they finally made a framework phone. And it turns out, the framework laptop is kind of similar approach, but with a laptop. Meanwhile, Fairphone's been doing this for years now with their different devices. So you've got modular on one hand, and then you've got a device that's perfect for right to repair, right? Like it's designed with repair in mind. Two very interesting now things, although the modular dream seems to have faded a little bit over the last couple of years. But Stacy, where do you land as far as these kinds of things are concerned? You were talking earlier about, like a phone is just a phone now. Like how do you make a phone better? We've seen it all. Does this change your mind at all?
So I'm going to go back way to the older Google I/Os. And if you actually remember the project, what was it? Project Moonlight or Project, I can't remember what the name of it was.
Aura?
No, it was, sorry, I just bumped the mic. There was a team that actually ended up getting completely disbanded. And they were like Project Moonshot or something along those lines. And they actually they had working, were able to show us true working in real life modular phones. And they had developed an ASIC chip, which is a completely custom chip. And actually had gotten the guy who used to run the Linux Foundation, a little bit of a personal hero, and right now I can't remember his name, but I totally fangirled and got a picture with him that year.
Linus Torvalds?
Not Linus Torvalds. Linus Torvalds is not the number one contributor.
Wow.
It's been a little bit since I've been tracking all that stuff, but another lifetime ago. But basically, they built a lot of stuff into the Android kernel and the Linux kernel in general to be able to do truly modular on the fly phones, which they ended up using some of that code for some other things that we end up enjoying now. So it basically had like defined interfaces. I want to go back to that, right? Where there was truly just like these base motherboards that didn't even have a chipset in them or anything else like that. And you would buy the motherboard piece and you'd slide that in, and you'd buy the, camera piece and slide that in. And they were not cheap modules, but the fact that you could kind of go back and put, whatever custom thing you wanted and change it out. I know Motorola played around with some of that stuff with their backs from like the Moto Z series. And Fairphone is giving you basically right to repair, not necessarily like right to upgrade, right? Because they're giving you a package that you can just take apart and reassemble. They're not giving you something that you can take apart and put in whatever parts you want. And that's where I kind of, I know the laptop you're talking about, and I felt really bad because I just bought a new personal laptop like weeks before that thing came out, and I was like, oh no. So, but I would like to see us to skew a little bit more in that direction, right? Where most of it actually truly is pull a piece, put a piece. Because I don't think we need to worry about how thin and light our phones are for the most part, at least from the power user standpoint. And when's the last time you remember actually taking your phone and I'm going to grab like another random device over here, a really old Verizon tablet or a Pixel 6 or whatever, really old Nexus. And when's the last time you were like, oh, it's so thin, it's so XYZ, and nobody's cared about that.
Yeah, I mean, some consumers have, from a purely kind of aesthetic standpoint, it's like, oh, there was this drive to get thinner devices and glass sandwiches and everything, and I know I've been guilty of that on this show, because that was the kind of design language path that was happening in smartphones, and it was different, it was new, and before that they were big, they were devices that you knew when, or at least I knew when I had that device in my pocket, versus this new phone that it's almost like I don't even know that it's in my pocket anymore. But at a certain point, like, I made the realization that I always end up putting a case on my phone anyways. Why? Because I will drop it and I will break it, guaranteed. And so any of that thinness kind of goes out the window when I'm just throwing a case on and making it thicker anyways. So like how valuable, how important is that? The modular project that you're talking about, is that Project Aura? Is that the one that you were referring to? That was Google's like total modular phone
I think
effort.
That was the name of the actual like project itself, but they had like a whole moonshot group that came out of. There was
which was before Google X, and it was called the Google Moonshots or whatever, I believe. ATAP, Advanced Technology and Products Division.
ATAP,
yes,
that's what it was.
That's what that
there
was.
we go. That's what it is. Yeah, we did it, team.
And the what did we see? Was that in the Pixel 5 that we saw the proximity like radio sensor? They had developed that same chip like
the Pixel
all the way
4
back then.
The radar. Why am I suddenly blanking on it? But yes, it was in the Pixel 4 only, and then I think now that they've put it into some Google Home or some of the Nest devices, I believe. But yeah, it only survived in the phone for a single generation solely. Thank you, Burke.
It didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like on my mouse or something like that, where it was going to be like an actual third-party object or something I could embed in clothing or something along. That's actually what the original application was going to be, was in smart clothing devices, and they showed it alongside like the
Levi jacket, right? Didn't someone get that, Jason? Did Michael Fisher buy that jacket? Or
we had Michael Fisher on, and he had it, and he showed it off. That was tied in with Project Jacquard.
That's what it was. Yep. Yeah.
It was. I will say of my Google I/O memories, when we used to actually go to Google I/O. Hopefully someday we'll get back there. That was one of my fondest memories, was sitting in that Google project, like their X division, or I guess it would be the ATAP demonstration of where they revealed Soli and they revealed Jacquard. And I can't remember what else, but those two things stole the show because you just hadn't seen anything like that before. And the idea of like Google creating these things that someday they would be injected into their hardware just seems so scientific, so sci-fi. And then it kind of happened, and it was like, oh, well, I guess that's okay in the phone. Like, it's cool that it's there, but it doesn't really, I don't know, not that cool. Yeah. Promised more than it could deliver, I think.
There was one more thing that was kind of the creepy one that everybody just decided that we're not talking about it afterward. If you remember that, it was based off of you as an individual and the way that you were interacting, and your facial expressions would actually determine whether or not it was actually you that was in front of either your laptop or your phone. And it could do it based off of either just your facial expressions, but part of it was also the way that you interacted with the device was with some reasonably high level of certainty. It could actually determine whether or not it was actually you that was using the device. I mean, it was some stupid number, over 90% or something.
I completely forgot about that. That's right. So this was all 2015. I'm trying to remember what that part was called too, but that was their group of renegades show off what they're working on with Regina Dugan. Yeah, interesting.